Hey parents, this video is for you. All right, let's talk about bedtime. I know it's kind of like a scary time for a lot of parents, especially if you have multiple children under the age of 5. But I promise you, it doesn't need to be scary and it doesn't need to be a point of anxiety for you or for your child during the day. It really can be a smooth, calm, and quick. And I want to emphasize quick because I see a lot of content online, funny videos about how the parent came out of the bedroom after reading 36 books, singing 15 songs, doing a puppet show, and whatever other shenanigans it was in the room before exiting the room. That is simply just control from the child, trying to avoid the bedtime routine. And I want to break that down later and see why that's happening. But for now, we're going to talk about how we can make a bedtime routine smoother, not stressful, and not take so long in the night. Before we dive in and break down how we can make the nighttime routine simpler and less stressful, I just want to say that sleep is like a passion of mine. Not only for myself, like I thrive off of sleep. I cannot function without sleep. For me, sleep is like the biggest, most important thing that my body needs. More than food, arguably more than water, and arguably more than exercise. I need sleep. So it was really important for me that my own children had healthy sleep habits because I needed to make sure that I had good sleep as much as possible. So I actually many years ago studied this, and also based off experience from my own children and daycare children, and worked with several clients to help sleep train their children, and we had a lot of success. Since then I put that aside just because life became very busy, but sleep is such a passion of mine. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that I understand how you feel as parents, that if you're not getting sleep, I understand you. It is so important for me as a mom to be able to function. And it's also so important for children to have healthy sleep. Their bodies are growing and developing, and they need quality sleep in order to continue to develop in a positive way. Okay, I feel like the world is working against us a bit because now with technology, we are inundated with screens. The best thing is to not show your child screens at least until they're 2 years old. And once they turn 2, if you want to show them screen, so limiting it to like maximum 30 minutes a day. And even that's like a lot. Really, children don't need screens, but I get it. This is kind of how the world is. And so I'm not gonna pretend like it's not a factor in life. But in terms of bedtime, screens, loud sounds, like loud music, screens, bright lights, that all should be thrown away at least an hour before bed. So how do you set up your routine? How do you set up your environment? So in the wintertime, it's much easier. In the summertime, it's much harder because it stays light out much later. And so it could be a little bit trickier to put them to sleep. And we just did spring forward in the clock. So if you're struggling with this, don't worry. I'm here to help you. So how to set the environments. Start by, if it's still light outside, start by closing the curtains, dimming the space as much as possible, turning off these bright overhead lights, and turning on like dimmer lamps. So really try to dim the inside light as much as possible. If you can't do it in the entire house, at least in their bedroom. Turning off the screens an hour before. I know having your child sit in front of a screen is like the quiet that you need. I get it. But if you turn it off an hour before bedtime routine starts, not an hour before you want them to be asleep, an hour before bedtime routine starts. It's very important to remember. You will see that their brain is actually going to start to come down from that stimulation, and it will be a smoother time into bedtime routine. So we talked about dimming the lights, turning off the screens, and not making it a party. So an hour before bed shouldn't be party time. It shouldn't be TV time. It shouldn't be dance party time. It shouldn't be having all the lights on and doing a bunch of chaos. It should really be winding down. Dimming lights, turning off screens, and winding down. So what does that look like? Bedtime routine can start with bath time, getting pajamas on, reading a book, doing a quiet activity. You can kind of decide what you want in that, but everything that you should do should be working towards the end goal, which is sleep. So, like I just said, bath time, pajamas, brushing teeth, picking out a book to read, and eventually going into bed. Turn off those night lights, parents, because if you don't know, light suppresses melatonin, and we all need melatonin in order to sleep. Even the tiniest little lights, by the way, the little blue lights on chargers, all of that suppresses, believe it or not, suppresses melatonin, which makes it harder for us to fall asleep and stay asleep. Keeping the room as dark as possible, taking off those artificial and natural light, by the way, taking out those lights, and setting your boundaries, letting children know before they go into bed how many books you're going to read. I would say don't read more than 2. You don't want bedtime to be so drawn out that they're used to you, your child is used to you being in there for a long time, which makes it harder for you to walk away. Letting them know, we're going to read 1 book, we're going to go into bed, we're going to maybe sing 1 song, I'm going to cover you with the blanket, give you a hug and a kiss, and I'm going to go walk away into the house. You're going to stay asleep, and I'm going to leave the bedroom. Have this conversation and have this communication before it happens so the child can understand what the next step is and setting them up for success. If your child protests, if they're older, let's say, I also like to give child the ability to see us parents as parents and let them know. In order for you to be able to do the things you need to do at night, you need them to be in bed. So, I need to clean the dishes, I need to take a shower, I need to do all the other things I need to do. And in order for myself to be able to focus on that, you need to be in bed. You need to do your part so I can do mine. And making that a partnership with your child instead of just always being the one to tell them what to do and having them be little compliant soldiers. Well, sometimes that we need that. Other times you can make them our partners and make them really agree to what this life that we're living is. I hope those quick tips helped you kind of conceptualize and understand what should be happening an hour before bed to make bedtime a little bit simpler for you. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments, hit subscribe, hit like, and share this with whoever you want. Let's chat about it. Let's see how we can really dive in deeper to help you have a more successful night with your child. All right, thanks for watching.